Right.
because I just love it. And it just brings so much joy. And it was because a guy came to my class who was in a wheelchair, and he's a stroke survivor. So a lot, even the chair yoga movements, he couldn't do. And he could move, one arm a little bit, and he could kind of rotate from side to side a little bit, but most of his body was paralyzed. And I was like, and he just seemed so discouraged. And I was like, just do what you can do, but then I know that I'm an able-bodied woman coming into this space, teaching people who have a lot going on, and we don't necessarily relate. Even if I say, just do what you can do. Like, don't worry about it. It's okay. Whatever you can do is great. They're still looking at me being like, well, you're fairly young, you're mobile, you could put your foot behind your head if you wanted to, and that sort of like dissonance between us. And I thought, like, is there a way where I could bridge that gap? So I started thinking, well, what can pretty much everyone do is laugh.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and I thought it was great because there was a way where we could connect, and rather than be disconnected. So
how are you doing all of this now? Are all your classes via online?
So right now my classes are limited, just because of a lot of restrictions. And so that was actually in a nursing home where I was teaching people with MS, stroke survivors, and there was some people with memory care things going on as well, and early Alzheimer's. And some people would come in from the outside, like the public, and then there was also open to inside. But because some of the people who were hit very hard with COVID were in nursing homes, there's not a lot of visitation right now.
Right.
So I did think about doing some stuff online, because I do know that some people could manage that and did have internet access. But I was so worried about the liability, even for online insurance. Life insurance, I was just worried, like, I would have to, the logistics of it, I'd have to have like some sort of way where I could have emergency contacts ready to go if they somehow fell, and if they live alone and I'm teaching them online and somehow they fall off the chair, then it just made me so nervous. I couldn't really honestly do it under good conscience.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Especially with special populations like that. So that's really a struggle. I know so many yoga teachers who are just really having a hard time. I mean, the whole world. I mean, the shift in what you do and how you do it is just huge. And how much of that shift is going to be permanent? I keep reading articles about, there are people, our oldest son lives out on the West Coast and in the States. And he's, well, both of them do, but the one that's in California, it's like, people are like in my office moving to places that they can actually afford, because all the work that they do is, online, and it doesn't matter. He is unfortunately one of those employees who has to go into the office. He's a photographer. And he's trying to figure out, it's like, man, how come I'm paying a bazillion dollars in rent to be, near the company, and there are people who are moving to, Nevada or wherever, but it's a whole lot cheaper. So their money goes so much further. But it just speaks to, as a yoga teacher, whether you do hands-on touching people or not, the clinician in me is always a little leery about touching people. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff about that, but nonetheless, when you can see them, you go, whoa, you're going to fall and break your neck. Hold on a minute. You're not there. You know what I mean? It's like, hold on, wait,
Yeah.
hold up, everybody. That's really hard. That's really hard. Yeah, so I've been playing with that question myself. I'm going to do it. I was supposed to start teaching yoga last spring here in Spain. It's a social club. Um, and COVID just like, I was going to be on the roof and you could see the Mediterranean, and we were going to have wine after.
Yeah.
It was going to be really nice.
That would be great.
But yeah, that didn't happen.
It might still happen in a little while.
It might. I mean, right now, I think our stipulations are supposedly no more than 4 people.
Yeah.
I think it might have changed a little bit because they're relaxing some of the restrictions, but it's for a place like that you could see, and I wouldn't really want to run the risk of being outside of what the norm would be anyhow. So I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I'm sort of playing around with it. The other thing I wanted to mention about you is you are always supportive of BIPOC yogis, whether it's in your post or your story or awareness kinds of things that you share with folks. And I wanted you to know how much it's appreciated, because you don't see it much. We don't see it much with European Americans, and Americans, I mean Canadians. People forget Canada is part of North America. I'm always reminding my students. I have students that go, well, Americans. And I said, are we talking about North Americans? Yeah, America. And I'm like, there's a whole country that's attached to North America. And they're like, what? America. And I'm like, well, Canada.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
Like when I feel like that's the same way about Africa. They're like, Africa, it's just like one big place, right? Like, no.
And it's not a country. It's a continent. It's like,
yes, exactly.
I still get that. And I have grad students, and I'm like, where did you go to school? I'm like, I don't understand how you don't know that. How do you not? Well, Africa, the country. And I'm like, and there's this big academic, like, whatever. And I'm like, let's hold up a minute. Multiracial, multi-ethnic, continent, like a whole big continent. But yeah, so it's mind blowing. But I did want you to know how much I appreciated it. It actually has been a little bit of a struggle. My feed, I hate that word too. I think particularly, well, actually all of them. Now I have 3 accounts. It's like, shoot me now. They all sort of represent an extremely diverse group of people. And that was something that I thought about doing. It is something that happened as a result, I think, of just who I am and what attracts me and the connections that I make, whether it be age, ethnicity, religion, race, ableness, parental status, marital status, I don't know, gender. I mean, sexual orientation. It's just really broad. And so for me, sometimes I run into the problem. I don't know if this is a problem for you. I've built my people that I follow through just that fun stuff with challenges. And over time, what I start to realize is I'm way more observant of the challenges I join, whether hosts are diverse or not. And so I look and I go, oh God, everybody's skinny, everybody's white, everybody's advanced, everybody is, it's just like this very narrow construct. Yeah. And so, and I get a lot of my friends who'll say, oh, you're going to join it. And then I actually will say to them, I'll say, this is the reason I'm not joining. I appreciate you tagging me, but I'm really trying to put my money where my mouth is, so to speak. or my body where my mouth is or something. um, and then I'll look age wise. I'm like, you all look like you're 18. And there's no way I'm near that. So I'm trying so hard through example, maybe. I don't know that many people get it though. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't think they really get it.
Right.
That's what I'm doing. And that's why sometimes I verbally will say, I'm not doing it because of this reason. And, hopefully challenging them in a kind way to begin to look at what that is. I understand it's all for fun, that kind of thing. However, it does speak to something. Well, it speaks to me in some way. So,
yeah. I personally haven't been doing many challenges as of late because I feel like even though I am a white, like cisgendered woman, and I'm still not in that category. You know what I mean? Like I'm still
sure.
and it's like, okay, I'm still not on the beach in Bali and like wearing a thong bikini and doing yoga. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like I don't see myself there. But also I feel like, do I really need to add to the objectification of yoga and just seeing people's bodies do cool things? Like sometimes it is impressive or just fun to see someone a handstand or a headstand. So I'm not going to say that it's the wrong thing to do, but for me, like the last couple of years, I've been really questioning, like, why are we challenged? Like, why are we doing this challenge? Should it be a challenge? And like sometimes I like the idea of doing something consistently. So I like that aspect of the challenge where you do like a yoga for 2 weeks or something every day. But then it's like, what are we doing here? Like, is it just how it looks? Because once you put a photo up on social media, it's so easy just to go, okay, that's great, she's doing a handstand, and you just scroll by, you like it, whatever. But what are we really doing? Because there's so much asana focused yoga already that I just don't know how I stand with it at the moment.
And I'm with you because I find myself drifting back and forth. I definitely find myself, I'm attracted to the relationship building. I know that that's a part of it for me. Is the relationship building and having fun and enjoying myself. However, then there's that flip side of what are we doing? And asana is not the only thing that yoga is. It's just so much more. See those so-called challenges, a meditation challenge. Actually, I was going to do one with a few friends. It's like you can't get people to want to do it, and it's not doing it so that you can win a prize. It's doing it because you really want to expand your meditation practice. So I don't know where the balance is, or if it's possible to find a balance with yoga and social media. I really don't know. I don't know.
It's really tricky because, of course, like we've met over Instagram, so I can't say that it's bad. I met so many people that I really like resonate with, and like just like so it is a tricky balance between like, what do I post, what do I not post? And so I've been trying to share here and there like how to add variations to yoga, like chairs and things like that. So, but then again, I don't have like 2,000 followers. You know what I mean? Because it's not like oh yeah, she's sitting there on the floor with her legs on a chair. Like, that's so cool. You know what I mean? It doesn't look great. Or if you do a meditation challenge, like, what are you going to show? Like, yourself sitting there.
Right.
Yeah, you might have like maybe some insight in the text that you write, but it's so, yeah, it's great, but it's strange at the same time.
It is.
And
it is.
Yeah. And I do see what you're talking about with lack of diversity and a lot of challenges, because I've seen people just post and I'm like, those women, it's usually women.
It is usually women. That's the other thing. Gender-wise, it's an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, because now a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but I feel like there are quite a few men who feel like yoga isn't for them, but yoga is for everybody, everyone. And so it becomes problematic when we think of yoga just for women, white women, skinny women wearing Lululemon, and you know, and that's a whole other story about that company. But they think, like, based on what you see in media, you'll think like, or people might think, that's not for me.
Right.
So yeah.
I just had it hasn't been uploaded yet, but I did it last week. It was a follow-up with Inti, who lives in Doha. And her partner. I did one with her before, I guess, I don't even know when it was now, earlier this year, or maybe it was late last year. And as an African-American woman who, you know, is an expat living in Doha in the Middle East, and her partner is East Indian descent. And she shared in our initial conversation about how he was looking at her about her things about yoga. Well, let me get my incense and let me get my candle and let me get, you know, whatever. And he was like, what are you? So I had a follow-up conversation. He agreed to do a conversation with her. It's fascinating. Yeah. So I'll make sure that I tag you so that you can listen, because or watch. It brings to mind that whole issue of, like, what are you doing? Do you need all those things? You know, do I, you know, and I have my own rituals that I do. I admit it, you know, I have to have my, you know, my little oils going and my salt lamp happening, you know, and the candles and my crystals, and it has become ritual, but it's not necessary. You know what I mean? It's not necessary. And do I really need, how many mats do I have that I had to ship here? Fred's like, how many mats?
I know.
Are you shipping to Spain? And I'm like, well, but this is my big one. I really like that one. And this one I don't really slip on. And this one and this one. And
yeah. So I got a Zoom mat now because I do teach over Zoom. So it was becoming a problem, because sometimes if I was wearing like dark pants or dark leggings and I had like a dark mat, they couldn't see my legs, because now they're wanting the teachers to demo a lot. So they're like, where is your leg? Like, I can't tell which one's in front and which one's behind. So I had to get a light blue colored mat so you can see my legs.
So you can see your legs.
Yeah. So it's like, now that's, I kind of guess I do need it. I don't know.
Right. But you know, it's interesting. You know, that whole thing about, what do you really need? All you need is your body, and that's the reality.
Yeah.
That's the reality. You only need your body, and then the things that you may need that'll aid that process for you. And it doesn't have to cost you a fortune. You know, it can be a towel, it can be a belt as a strap, it can be, I mean, you know, whatever. And that to me is very important. It makes it accessible to everyone. you know, and that's my big thing. How do we make it accessible to those populations that really, 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 really need it, especially now with the pandemic and people being closed off and closed in, who may be living alone, or reach out to yoga as a way because somebody said something. Well, this will help you out. You know what I mean? So, well, I appreciate you taking the time. I don't want to keep you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so very much.
I'm just happy to be talking to you.
I know, this is so fun. I wish I was coming to Halifax. I don't even think I've ever been there. Nope. Yeah, Halifax. Nope, never been there. I've been to Montreal for the jazz festival. A number of times. When we lived in the States, we lived in New England and in Connecticut, but I don't think I've been anywhere. I always wanted to go to Toronto because they have a big West Indian festival.
Yeah.
But I've never been.
Downtown Halifax does remind me of like some parts of old Montreal. It's not as fabulous.
Oh, it does.
But the architecture is similar in some respects. And there's a lot of, like, in the summer during regular times, there's a lot of like outdoor patios and people kind of walking around and like mingling and stuff like that. So it's maybe not as busy and there's not as many like big things to see, but it does remind me of Montreal a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I always tell people, you never know where I might get. I used to say that it was very possible. It was more possible than it is now because of the work we do, and do a lot of consulting and training, and I never know where I would end up. And I would always go, okay, what yogi lives where? What yogi? I have been across the bridge. Where was that? Detroit? I don't know. Was that Detroit? Whatever. It wasn't far from going to Toronto, I think. I just can't remember what state it was. But I always say, you never know.
Well, let me know if you're coming.
Not to worry. Or if I'm not too far away, I'm always game. I haven't met anyone in person since when's the last time I met someone in person? I think it was Cheska. And it was just before we moved to Spain, and she came from Pennsylvania to vacation in Florida, and it was very close to where we lived. And so I was able to meet her. Late blooming lotus. I don't know if you follow Cheska. Yeah. She may be the last person that I met. So that would be 3 years ago. It's the last time I met face to face someone. But we'll see. Like I said, get ready. Well, again, I appreciate it. You have a wonderful day, honey, and you take care.
You too.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.